Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 100 days of one of Ark Survival Evolved's most hardest mod, Ark Omega. Hey yo, what's up? Great to see you again. A couple things before we go. Look thenotable for the 100 days idea, and a huge special thanks to Kirmu and then to you guys for making it super awesome. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, it is day 1 and welcome to a brand new adventure. A couple things you guys need to know. Well, for one, I know absolutely nothing about this mod. 2, well, I'm doing things a bit different here. I'm on a server with a handful of peeps. Hopefully this works out. And 3, well, I didn't really take this into account. I started a bit late in the day, so I had to get my butt moving. The one plus thing that I had with me is that you guys chose Ragnarok, a map that I was familiar with. And of course, I knew what to do to get my hands on some juicy metal tools. And off I went to the beaches of Ragnarok where I spotted those crates that we needed. Equipped with some metal tools, I decided to get my base going in order to survive the first night. Oh yeah, I also went ahead and crafted this really cool claw tool that I have on me. Came with a mod. Day 2 began with me collecting some of those gacha crystals. You never know what you could get with those, but it's always a good thing. I then turned my attention on some of the dodos that were around. I needed to tame them as this was a mod that depended on kibble as well. I pressed on and tamed a bunch of dodos and took them back to my base where I got them ready for laying the eggs that I needed. Also, collecting those gacha crystals, I was able to get some normal crystals that I needed to craft my super spyglass. I then gathered some metal and some other resources needed and crafted myself a kibble machine. Now, let's see. Day 3. I think it started out with me trying to tame someone that was on an RG. Yeah? Nah, I'm just kidding. I was just messing around, okay? Anyways, today was a day where I thought I'd go ahead and try and tame something. Well, that didn't really look like it was going to happen. So, I skipped that idea till I was a more efficient player. I decided I'd go ahead with equipping my base with a couple of things. We got a forge, we got a modern pistol, we got ourselves a smithy, and then I went ahead and converted my base to wood tier. Day 4, peeps. Now, this was the greatest of all days because I was finally able to tame something. I had the resources to craft some type of narcotic, beta and basic narcotics. So, I had to go and try it out. We went out to tame a parasaur that was close to our base. Now, this was easy enough to tame. We had bowlers, we bowled it and trained it until we got it knocked out. And then we got it the kibble that it needed. Later on that day, whilst I was venturing out into the world, well, you see, I lost it. I lost the freaking parasaur that I tamed on the same day. What a screep, Kamz. Oh, day 5. Well, you know what? I wasn't gonna let yesterday's mishaps affect me today. I spotted this decent level pteranodon. Not just any normal pteranodon. It was a freaking fire pteranodon. It was easy enough to tame as I just needed a bowler and some tranks and knocked it out. I then went back to base to get the kibble that it needed. Once tamed, I quickly realized I wasn't at the level where I could ride this pteranodon. So what I had to go and do was get some levels by taking out some of the dinos and also get the resources needed to craft its saddle, which I had the rest of the day to complete. By day 6, I was 1 level shy of crafting that all-important pteranodon saddle. The best thing I could think of was to craft some things. So I decided to go ahead and level up my base, take it from wood tier and upgrade it to stone tier. I also thought it was a good idea to get some wooden spikes, just for a little base defense kind of thing. By the end of this, I was able to get my pteranodon saddle and take to the skies, blasting out with some fireballs. Day 7! And now that we could fly, we could explore and reach places we couldn't reach before. Yeah! Alrighty, so I needed a couple of resources to get some things done back at base. I went to the far side of Ragnarok where I spotted those beached whales. Now those gave us a whole lot of resources, spoiled meat, hide, keratin, and so on. I then needed some organic poly and we were not far from that. Just on the other side by the wyvern lair, we could find some mantis. And the only problem was me trying to take them out, as I didn't know how strong or how weak my pteranodon was. was. I just had to go for it and hope for the best. On my way back to base, I grabbed some silica pearls and some obsidian as well. Back at base, I realized I wasn't the levels that I needed to craft the fabricator, which was what all this was for. Rep, no worries. We had a backup plan. We could go ahead and craft our upgrade station. From there, I went ahead to try and upgrade my crossbow as much as I could. Considering I didn't have the levels for the fabricator and stuff, what I decided to do was go ahead and tame some of the basic dinos, move up a tier with the kibble system. So I went out searching for any basic dinos or dodos that I could find and tried to tame them. I was able to get down a female earth dodo, got it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. I then needed to go out and grab a male. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out. So, yeah. Rip little dodo. Later on, I found a farming oviraptor. Now, even though that this wasn't what I needed, no, actually, it would help us, Kamz. It's a female plus a basic dino. So, I had to go ahead and tame it, which I did. Sweet stuff. So, day 9 is when I finally got the hang of this mod. It's sort of like Primal Fear going up in tiers with kibble, only that each tier has way more variants, so it can get a bit confusing. Also, I spotted another fire pteranodon, a mate for the pteranodon that I already had, so of course I had to tame it. It was pretty easy. With bowlers and tranks, we were able to knock it out. Got it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. Later on that day, I went ahead expanding my base. Now we needed the space in order to get my kibble farm going. Day 10, a whole lot of things had happened by now. Yeah, we finally got the levels to get our fabricator, and because we expanded our base, we needed to rearrange some things here and there. I then began working on our crops and piping, and without me even knowing, that oviraptor that we tamed the other day, well, I must say it was a mighty fine find. Because not only could it, well, increase the egg production, it actually can process poop into fertilizer. Not only that, but also fertilize our crop plots, which was amazing. By the end of the day, we just finished off what we needed to do, and that's get our piping in order and plant our first seeds. Yeah, man. Day 11. Well, I started breeding and hatching my pteranodon eggs, hoping to add on some dinos to our kibble farm and also getting some backup flyers in the case we happen to lose a few of them. While waiting for my pteranodons to mature, I went out looking for some souls, elemental souls to be specific. The easiest things I could take out for now were dodos. I then later spotted this beautiful ice pteranodon, which I wanted to tame and add on to my little kibble farm that was going. So with my bowler, I was able to trap it, and because I wasn't really sure what it would do to me, I kept my distance and tranked it out. Got it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. Alrighty. It was day 12. It was time to upgrade my dino, as I spotted a beta ice pteranodon. I knew it was a low level, but its stats was way better than the pteranodons that I had. So of course I had to go and tame it. Surprisingly enough, it was quite an easy tame, but something strange happened that day. Whilst I was going back to base, I spotted this titanosaur. Now, flying my way through this path earlier on, I actually didn't see this titanosaur. Keep in mind that I'm super new to mods, so I was like, what the freak's happening? So I stayed behind and watched the fight going on. I thought I'd get some souls or something, but I got something even better in return whilst watching. This was just crazy, and I didn't know what to do with it, but hey, it looked cool, so I just went on my merry way. Later that night, I wanted to try out this little thingamabobsy that I got earlier on from the titanosaur fight. Apparently, it was a boss, a tamed version of the boss that I somehow got, which was amazing. But yeah, whilst testing that out, I got attacked by a dodo. Once again, lost the freaking tame that I tamed the same day. Just my luck, right? Day 13 started off with me taming a high-level pteranodon. I found this near base, a knockback 125 pteranodon, and it had great stats, so I had to go ahead and tame it. I then went ahead to collect some resources, and this time I used my titanosaur to take down some of the dinos, get some souls, chitin, and polymer, everything that I needed from that part of the world, and moved on over to those beaver dams, where I went ahead and grabbed some cementing paste and a couple couple other things that came with it. Day 14, now that we were able to craft the teleporter, I was able to travel around the map much faster and get things done a bit quicker. So I went ahead taming the dinos within the basic tier. I started off with a female knockback pteranodon, easy tame. Working my way to a starfire tech parasaur. Yeah, that was a bit of a tricky situation, but eventually we managed to knock it out and was able to get the tame. Ending the day off with an explosive parasaur and a spectral. Let's go! Day 15, well, I continued working with the dinos within the basic tier. We had a couple of female parasaurs, so we needed to find a male to give it its mate boost, increasing egg production. Luckily, there was a male parasaur near base, so we went out, knocked it out, and tamed it. I then went ahead to tame yet another pteranodon, but I really didn't know what it could do, and I got just a bit too close to it. Unfortunately, yeah. Things didn't work out so well. RIP! Thing is, I didn't give up. I went back for it and was able to bowler it. I think with its cooldown, I just had enough time to knock it out and get it its kibble and wait for it to tame up. Later on, I went out for a little spin and I spotted this really interesting creature, a pearl carcanos. So I used my titanosaur to take it out. And guess what, peeps? This actually gave us a whole lot of pearls and black pearls. It was so freaking beautiful. Day 16, I went for a quick cementing paste run. Yeah, by hijacking some of the cementing paste from those beaver dams. I needed all of those to craft a tree platform. I figured out that we would be needing a whole lot of veggie cakes, so it's best for us to start prepping as soon as possible. So we got our tree platform and a couple of tree sap taps. What I needed to do was find a safe place to place these, which I did. There was a tree close to the red obby and it was quick and easy to get to it. On my way back to base, I spotted this high-level spiritual pteranodon, which at that time I thought I could tame, so I went on with taming this pteranodon. I soon realized that I didn't have the resources to craft its kibble. Yeah, my bad. I then focused my attention on getting some beta tier dinos. Well, I found a beta carbonemes and tried to knock it out. Once that was done, we were able to get it its kibble and wait for it to tame up. Day 17, well, I got my soul terminal. I wanted to test out if this would actually get us more eggs than the normal way that we got our eggs. Also, we went ahead and added the creature deluxe finder. Now, all this time we didn't use it and I was like running in circles like a headless chicken trying to find dinos that I needed. It was just madness. Moving on, I went ahead with taming more beta dinos. Yeah, man. This mod really helped us a whole freaking lot. So on day 18, you know what? Things were going strong now. I was feeling a bit better about this now that we got things going. Anyways, I started off with a little metal run and then peeps. And then, well, you see, I spotted this freaking beta comet pteranodon. Now it was almost max level, and well, it had some really cool stats. So of course, I wanted to tame it. But there was a whole lot of dangerous things around the area. Although, from where I was positioned, I was able to bowler the pteranodon and drank it out. So, all I had to do was get it its kibble and wait for it to tame up. Peeps! We were in business. Day 19, I just went out collecting the essence and souls that we needed. We always will need that, so we do need some days to farm up these things. I also went and named my Titanosaur. It's about time we make it official. Big Earl was the name I chose for this. Then whilst out and about, I spotted this loot compy, which I took out. And boy, oh boy, did I just realize that this was freaking amazing. Yeah, because it gave us a Titanosaur saddle. Something that we really needed. Day 20, I continued with collecting beta dinos. We needed more eggs. The only way to get that is by taming some more beta dinos. I was able to find a meteor pteranodon. Luckily, I was quite some distance away from it because it had some sweet abilities which I believe would have taken me out if I was a tad bit close. But anyways, we were able to knock out this pteranodon, gave it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. Whilst waiting, waiting, there were a couple of dinos around the area, and I thought, you know what? It would be a good idea if we could farm some of these dinos for some essence and souls. So we went on with Big Earl, smashing everything that was on sight. Later on that night, I went on taming yet another beta pteranodon. This time it was a spectral. Of course, going for the easiest way to tame these things, with bowlers and some trank arrows. I think we'll call it a night for tonight, peeps. Day 21, I decided it was time for us to start taming some helper dinos. First on the list was an ankylosaurus, and close to base I spotted a necromancer Anki. Now, using the advantage of height, I was able to trank and knock out this Anki. Got it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. With that done, I thought it was a good idea for me to go out and do a little metal run. Day 22, my focus was on taming an Argy. Taming an Argy would definitely help us with taming the other creatures that we needed. Now, this is what I was going for. And so the pursuit for an Argy began. Not long after, I found myself face to face with a self-destructive Argy, and I was determined to tame it. All was going well until things went south. Really, you couldn't ask for a much worse off situation. And unfortunately, well, we kinda lost the Argy. I'm not really sure whether it was me or the other dinos that caught it in the crossfire, but somehow it was missing. So of course, I thought it was gone. But not to worry, because eventually we found another decent level Argy. This time I made sure that we got the tame. I used my net gun and was able to trap the Argy and tranked it until it was knocked out. Day 23, it was time for me to level up my flyer once again. And over at the Redwoods is where I found an Alpha Supernova Pteranodon. Man, did it have some juicy stats. Luckily, this was a Pteranodon, one of the easiest tames we could get, because all we had to do was use our bowlers, and it had a headshot multiplier, so we just had to use a couple of tranks and knock it out. Once that was done, I was able to get the kibble that it needed, and then took it on for a little test flight, checking out what kind of damage it could do, and at the same time I went ahead and got it a few levels. On day 24, I decided to join one of the peeps on the server, as they were able to get the boss summoner or whatever it is called, and they were spawning in some dinos. It was a good way for me to also get some levels for Big Earl and some levels for me. It was just crazy. Big Earl was just OP at this point. I think later on I actually took him out of the squad because it was it was just way too OP. And at some point I tried helping with taming a tech strider. All I had to do was just stand there and tank. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out, so eventually we had to take out the tech strider and move on. All in all, it was a great day. Day 25, it was time for me to sort out the rest of my helper pack, and with the help of my Argy, I was able to pick up the dinos that I needed. We grabbed a Castoroides for some wood, and then went out looking for a Doedicurus for stone. Both of these we took to a safe location where we were able to knock them out and tame them. Day 26 to day 30, I focused on working on my main base. Yeah, this was quite a crazy one because I didn't really have a guide to follow. All I had was this picture as a template. I wanted my base to look somewhat like a castle because we had the castle mod. It did take some time because it needed a whole lot of resources. I mean, it needed some crystal. Metal was one of the most things that we needed, and cementing paste. So I had to go back and forth gathering these. And by the end of it, this is what I had. It turned out really cool, I must say. Loads of space. I wasn't done yet, of course. I still needed to do a few more things. So, yeah, we'll get to that another time. But for now, this is it, peeps. It looks amazing. Day 31, I thought I'd try my luck with taming a griffin. During my Primal Fear playthrough, the griffin proved to be an invaluable mount, especially when it came to taming. Now, I'd hoped it would give us the same experience during this mod, so I went off looking for a griffin. At first glance, it seemed to be an easy tame, as we were able to trap it with my net gun and got a couple tranks in it. The thing is, its torpor was really high, so things got a little bit out of hand, if you know what I mean. Ah, darn it. Not again. But with the never give up attitude, I was back at it again. And again, we were able to trap this griffin with my net gun, and this time, finally knocking it out, getting the kibble that it needed, and waited for it to tame up. Alrighty, day 32. Guys, whilst flying out and about, well, I spotted this sweet prime wyvern. Yeah, and I really wanted to tame it. I came prepared with a taming pen and needed a spot to place it down, which I found was kinda safe, or well, as safe can be. The other thing I needed to do was try and kite this wyvern in. Long story short, we managed to get the wyvern in and trap it. Just one more thing I didn't know is what it could actually do to me. Rap! Screep! Anyways, the good thing is we had the wyvern trapped, so we could go back and actually trank it out. Once tranked, well man, what else can I say? We got a freaking wyvern! Let's go! J33, yes, I finally decided that it was time for me to actually move into my new base. I was still doing things from my old base, so yeah, I knew it was kind of crazy. I mean, there was just so much things that I needed to move to my new base. Yeah, I just couldn't do it, okay? But today was the day to just get things done. And it was time for me to say my final goodbyes and move on to greener pastures. Day 34 to 36, I did a little work back at base. We needed to sort out a few things here, like get our kibble farm going, so we had to work on some crop plots, and also the piping while we used the superstructures mod. So that really helped us here. And then of course we had to work on the greenhouse itself. I also went and got a couple of things for base, just to equip it with the things that it needed. We needed some forges going, so we could get that metal grind going once again. We needed to get a whole lot of metal, as the structures that we used required lots of metal. So we went on a metal run as well. And then finally we went ahead with just doing the finishing touches to the base. And again, this is not the final thing, because I still had to put walls and stuff, but I mean, it still looked freaking insane. J37, you see, I had a problem with collecting metal. Turns out that these Omega dinos don't really gather as much materials as I would on my own. But I thought if I could use the multi-tool with a mantis, it might make a difference. That's where I found this mantis. It was easy enough to tame, as I used my net gun and some trank arrows. Got it knocked out and then got it the kibble that it needed. Back at base, I took it on for a little test run to see whether if this would actually help it. Well, what I found out was that it didn't really collect that much more metal than I would, but it was a faster way to do so it was still a great tame. Also, I needed more prime dinos, and there was a prime thyla nearby. So it was a no-brainer. I knocked it out and tamed it. J38, my plan was to get all or most of the industrial crafting stations. So off I went with my wyvern to get the resources that I needed. I went out and got some poly, some oil, and then hit down some of the beaver dams for cementing paste. And while I was there, I found a loot Bronto. That was amazing. So I had to take it out and just grabbed all that glorious loot. By the time I got back to base, it was quite late and a bit short on them resources, but I was able to craft an industrial forge. Like I said, it was late, so I took the night off. At J39, I was on the hunt again for more resources. You should know by now what I'm going to do with it. Yes, we're going to have milk and cookies. Nah, maybe another time. But for now, we needed those resources to craft the chemistry bench that I wanted, and then got to work with piping to set up my industrial cooker. For now, I think we're pretty much good. J40 peeps, oh yes, it was time for us to level up our flyer once again. And this time we had the resources to move up to the ultimate tier. And guys, I found this really cool ultimate gamma ray pteranodon. And man, did it have some sweet stats, over 100k HP. It was of course an easy tame, as it was a pteranodon. All we had to do was trap it with our net gun and then blast it with some of the trank arrows that we had. No, not blast it, but shoot it with the trank arrows that we had and knock it out, man. We obviously had the kibble for this, so we had to go and get that, feed it to the pteranodon and wait for it to tame up. Once it was tamed, well, I took it for a little test flight, checking the damage it could do, and also at the same time we got it a few levels. Day 41, I was in search for some queen bees. We needed to make a whole lot of veggie cakes, and one of the ingredients we needed was honey. So you see where I'm going with this. But the thing is, I forgot how to tame these guys. It's been a while, so you must understand that I had no idea what I was doing, and I also didn't have the slightest idea of what was going on and why this freaking bee didn't want me to give it the rare flower. Now this struggle went on for quite a while until I finally gave up and did some research and found out that I needed bug repellents. Nevertheless, I was able to get what was needed and got my beehive. I then later on decided to work on some electricity for my base. Day 42 I began collecting more ultimate dinos. Now these took a bit longer as I needed a whole lot of resources to craft its kibble, and we just got our beehive, so things were taking some time. But I found an ultimate knockback Maywing in the vicinity of those beaver dams, so I went out and trapped it with my net gun, knocked it out, and was able to craft its kibble. I then thought it was a good idea to grab some cementing paste whilst I was there waiting for the tame. The previous day I spotted this beauty, the Omega Colossus Argentavis, and I really wanted to tame it. Thing is, I didn't have the resources to craft its kibble. So on day 43 I began taming some mythicals. It was better late than never, right? First off, I spotted a Phoenix Dodo, which I went ahead and tamed. I then went after a Colossus Gallimimus and got that too. Later on I shifted my focus and decided to go after some essence and souls, and that I did by taking out everything that was in sight. Day 44, well, you see, I wanted to secure my base and build up some walls around it. Well, secure it as best as we could because there were flyers in this game, so yeah, there's only so much you can do. Anyways, I went out to get the resources needed to craft a whole bunch of structures. I wanted to try things out to see what would work best, and well, this is what I came up with just as a little tester so that I can actually complete the job. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. Day 45 peeps, and I continued with the mythical grind. I spotted a beta Colossus Dodo and went for the tame. Whilst in the vicinity, I found this sweet Omega uncontrollable Pteranodon, and man, was its stats so freaking juicy. I really wanted to tame this thing, and I knew that normal bowlers wouldn't work for this, so I had to use my net gun and started to trank it. Now this Pteranodon did give us a good fight because I mean its torpor was just insane, over 1 million, but after some time we were able to actually knock it out and we got it its kibble. What I didn't know and what nobody told me, that you couldn't freaking ride these types of dinos. I was truly gutted. Yeah. Freaking sad times, man. Alrighty, day 46, peeps. It was again that time to level up our flyer. And I was quite fond of those cosmic dinos. They had some really cool attacks. And I spotted another Gamma Ray Pteranodon, this time an Omega, and almost max level. Well, that's what I believe. So I went out and I got it trapped with my net gun. The thing is, this darn freaking thing, well, you see, the tranks weren't registering their shots. So like I had to maneuver in such a way that these tranks could register their shots. By doing this, I got rather close to the Pteranodon, and all I saw was a flash of light, and I knew I was in trouble. Oh yeah. But anyways, we couldn't give up that easy, so we went back to the spot, and well, this time we were able to knock out the Pteranodon, got it its kibble, and waited for it to tame up. Day 47, I went out leveling up my Pteranodon, and I also just found out the secrets of a Paragon Dino, so I went out looking for a few of them, and was able to spot some and take them out. Then continued with leveling up my Pteranodon, collecting souls and essence as well. Day 48, I spotted this Omega Loot Bronto, and I couldn't wait to see what it would give us, so I had to go and take it out as fast as possible. Oh man, the loot! The glorious loot! Oh! So amazing. Later on that day, well, I went for a quick metal run. Quick and easy stuff, man. Day 49, I decided to go ahead and work on getting some of the egg layers for the variants that I needed. First on the list, I went ahead and tamed an Alpha Siren Pteranodon. Then off to the Redwood is where I spotted another Pteranodon, but this time it was an Astral variant. We got that one too. Further on is where I spotted a familiar Dire Bear. It was one of the dinos that I needed, so I went ahead and knocked it out. Got it its kibble and waited for it to tame up. Let's go, peeps! It's day 50. We made it thus far without losing our heads, so it's quite an achievement. Anyways, whilst waiting for my egg layers to lay eggs, I went on taming the variants I had resources for. And on my radar was a Shadow Mane, an ultimate water type. Luckily, I was equipped with my net gun and was able to actually trap the Shadow Mane. this time using Trank Dots to knock it out. Well, speaking about water, I needed water. One sec. Alrighty, back to the Shadow main. We were able to knock it out and went back to base to get it its kibble. Later on that day, I decided to go for a little metal run. Man, we always need that stuff. Day 51 started out like this. You see, I spotted this titan in the desert, and I thought I'd give it a try and see what will happen. Yeah? If only I had seen the information my spyglass had given me earlier on. Despite giving it my best efforts, nothing really seemed to work on this thing, so I had to skip that one for now. I then proceeded collecting the dino variants that I needed for my kibble farm, like this prime familiar Argentavis. Oh. Yeah, right. You're getting ahead of yourself, Kamz. Moving on. Ah, yes. This is what I'm supposed to be looking out for. Oops. And I needed some of these as well. Too bad you can't really see that well. Another oopsie. Day 52, I spotted this Omega Singularity RG on the map. And well, you guys should know by now that I was into these cosmic dinos, and I really wanted to tame this one. Just that, this was quite an OP freaking thing. Its attacks was just madness, and its torpor even crazier. It gave us a really tough time, actually. Eventually, the inevitable happened. It took me out. Wasted. So that night I remained back at base, prepared more things for the tame, and then I went out gathering the resources needed for its saddle. Day 53, I was back at it yet again, and this time I wasn't going out empty-handed. We were able to trap the RG with our net gun and knock it out, peeps. Got it the kibble that it needed and waited for it to tame up. Later that day, I took the RG for a little spin, taking out all dinos in sight and getting a few levels for the RG as well. Day 54, I continued with taming the dino variants that I needed for my kibble farm. We needed some prime dinos. I went out and got myself a spiritual dodo and then went on over to getting myself an overlord carno. By now, we should be in line with the rest of the tiers, so I'm guessing we just needed ultimates next. Great stuff. Day 55. Yes, I was right. It was time for me to go and tame up some ultimate dinos. But before I could go, I needed to prep up some veggie cakes. And once that was done, I went out looking for the easiest dinos I could find. For these were just for my kibble farm. At first, I went for an ultimate familiar featherlight. Now this didn't give us that much problems, so I was able to take it out quite quickly. Whilst I was waiting for that to tame up, I went after an ultimate phoenix campi. That was also quite a quick tame. And lastly, I went for an ultimate spiritual pteranodon. Now you guys might be wondering why I'm not bothered about the gender of these dinos. The thing is, I had the egg laying option for this mod set as true, so no matter what the gender was, we'd still get eggs. Day 56. My goal for today was to start grinding for some of the boss fights. Now this is done by getting the souls needed for them bosses. But whilst out and about, I saw this on the map and I thought it would be a good idea to add it to our pack. Well, actually, I needed to clear out the dangers in the area, and we had those pesky little vultures, and I got quite frustrated with this as these little screeps kept dodging my attacks. So I had to use my special ability. Well, that was that. I guess it's back to the boss grind. Let's go get them souls. Day 57. It was time. It was time to spawn in some bosses as I was able to craft my Omega beacon. You can use this to spawn bosses as well as specific dino variants if you wanted. Anyways, I wanted to use my primal fear tactic, spawning these bosses within a natural kind of trap-like thingamabobsy. Needless to say, things went on pretty well. Actually, we were doing some decent damage to the boss. The only thing is that the boss had some good amount of HP. So it took a while, but eventually we were able to get down this boss. Our first boss is done. Let's go! Day 58. Whilst I was out with my pteranodon, I spotted this on the map, an Omega Meteor Shadowmane. I couldn't really pass this opportunity in taming this freaking beast. Equipped with my net gun, I was able to trap said Shadowmane and worked on tranking this as fast as I could, as it had 2 million worth of torpor, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to get it down the first time around. So I had to wait for the next opportunity to trap the Shadowmane and finally knock it out. Once it was knocked knocked out, I was able to get it its kibble and stayed by its side until it was tamed up. Day 59, well, we just did a whole lot of things back at base. It was more like a maintenance kind of day, getting the things that we needed to help us along with this playthrough, and made sure our resources were stocked up. We also went and did a little metro run and then decided to go ahead and upgrade all of our armor. Day 60, I decided to go ahead and take on another boss, this time checking out what a beta variant could do. But in doing so, I found a cool little strategy. What I did was tag teamed my Pteranodon and Argy with their special abilities, and within a couple of minutes we were able to defeat the next tier of bosses. I don't know how far we could go. We'll just have to wait and see. Oh yes, peeps! Guess what? Today was the day I found my favorite dino that I wanted to tame. A max level Rex and Omega Singularity. It was just freaking amazing. So OP stats. Anyways, I didn't really know if it could destroy stone, so I just opted for going with a metal taming pin, and then I needed to kite the Rex in, which I was able to do so. And also, well, it was a singularity, so its special ability, not one to mess with. So I had to keep my distance and begin tranking it until it was knocked out, got it the kibble that it needed. Peeps, we have a freaking Omega Singularity Rex. Day 62, I had quite a pleasant surprise. I was visited by Kirmu, one of the players on the server, and he brought some goodies to help us with this playthrough. Really, it was super awesome of him, but of course I still wanted to use my own progression throughout this playthrough. Although these will still come in handy, especially when we needed them for them boss fights and stuff. But anyways, now that we had our Rex, actually we had 2 Rexes, we had to go and level them up. We also got the Omega potions from Kirmu, so we used that and were able to max out both of our Rexes. On day 63 and 64, well, I went out farming some more bosses. I also wanted to test out my Rex against those bosses. Yeah, let's just say it wasn't really doing that great, but still enough to fight them. And by doing these fights, I was able to unlock a couple of tech engrams. Sweet stuff! Day 65, back at the Omega Beacon, I spawned in an Omega Meteor Therizino. And man, it looked way too juicy to resist, so I had to go and tame it. You guys might have forgotten by now that I had a Griffin. The only reason I didn't use it was that it was kinda glitchy. But I took it out for this specific task. Once we got the Theri knocked out, I was able to go and grab the kibble that it needed. And from there, I just waited for it to tame up. Alrighty, on day 66, I started breeding the Rexes I got from Kirmu. I just wanted to use that for backup because we were about to take on some of the big guns. After that, I went out leveling up the rest of my dinos, the Theri we just tamed, and the Archie that we already had, getting their much needed levels and hoping that they would take us to where we need to go, because I was really scared. Day 67, I began hatching the egg I got from the Rexes I started breeding the previous day, using the superstructure hatchery, making it for a speedy one. I then went out to face off against another boss. This was, of course, a singularity one. Why? Well, because I needed its soul. Why do I need a soul? Well, you'll soon find out. Day 68, with the help of Kirmu, I was ready to take on my first god, a singularity type. Now, apparently, if you take this out, you'd get its soul and you'll be able to level up any singularity dino. Righto, so I went on with the Meteor Rex as I didn't really want to lose the singularity Rex that I had. Now with Kirmu and with the Meteor Rex, we were able to do some really cool damage to this god and was able to get it down in no time. And before knowing, we had a god singularity soul. And peeps! Well, I fed it to my Rex, giving it the power of a god. Well, not really. Day 69, now with my godlike singularity Rex, I wanted to go ahead and see what it could actually do to them bosses. So I went on ahead and spawned some bosses in. Wow, peeps. Let's just say this time things went really quick. The damage that we were doing to these bosses were crazy. Also at the same time, we took on a manticore, which gave us the tech force field, something that I really wanted. Day 70, peeps. Well, this must have been one of my luckiest previous days, as I was able to spawn a death worm from the Omega beacon. Not just any death worm, an Omega meteor type. And of course, peeps, the numbers on this thing was just crazy, and I really had to tame this. So I tried a little strategy at the beginning. Unfortunately, it didn't work so well. But I did realize that I had the shadow mane that we tamed a long time ago. Yeah, forgot about that. And we could actually shoot from its back. So that became my new strategy for taming these dangerous dinos. And so with this strategy, I was able to knock out this death worm and, well, got it the kibble that it needed. And peeps, I think this one right here did us a lot of good in the days to follow. Day 71 to 72, I went on collecting more boss souls. Now that I knew what I needed them for, I had to get a whole lot more. The other thing I wanted to do was test out my death worm. In fact, it was one of the greatest tames I had because it could hide underground and no attack could affect it. It was the perfect weapon. Oh yeah, it was also quite OP. Day 73, with the help of Kirmu, we once again took on another god, and this time it was the meteor type. Yeah, you can see where I'm going with this. Tag teaming with the Deathworm and Karkinos, this god wasn't a match for us. We took it down in no time, doing some serious damage to it. At the end of it all, I was able to get the godlike meteor soul and powered up my Deathworm to a godlike level. Finally, we get away from that Omega beacon. It has been a very, very long time, right? I know about that. Rep me! But anyways, we needed a breather from that space. So, on day 74 to 75, I went out looking for paragons, hoping to find some paragons to level up my dinos. I wanted to get them as strong as possible as I could. We didn't have much time to face the final boss, which was a group god. So we needed to get our crap together ASAP. I was still on the lookout for some OP tames, so every now and then I try my luck with the Omega beacon, and on this particular day I spawned in an Omega Tech Rex. Now this was something, as its stats looked pretty interesting, and using the strategy of sitting on my shadow mane while striking it, well, kept me safe from doing anything stupid. And within a few moments we were able to knock out this Tech Rex, got it the kibble that it needed, and when it was tamed up, I took it out for a little spin, taking out everything that was in sight and got it the levels that it needed. Day 77 to 78, while I went out looking for more paragons. This was the best way for me to get my dinos into tip-top shape. The thing is, these didn't really spawn in that much, so when I found some on the map, I had to get there like my life depended on it. Well, actually, our lives did depend on it because, yeah, we need some strong dinos for them boss fights, man. Day 79, peeps! Well, you see, I spotted this max level Reaper Queen on the map, so I had to go and check it out. Thing is, it was really there, just that it was invisible for some reason. Maybe it was camera shot, I don't know. But in this instance, I had to use my instincts, as I couldn't really see what I was doing, and I wanted to trank it out. Luckily, it worked out for us, because we were able to knock out this Reaper Queen. I went back to base to get it the kibble that it needed, and when I arrived, that's when we could finally see this beautiful, magnificent beast. Man, that its stats look so amazing. Anyways, from there I took it out to level it up and got it some sweet juicy levels. Yeah, I mean, by the end of it, it was looking pretty thick, peeps. By day 80, I was able to spot my third Paragon Rex. I didn't really hesitate going to get this. Once this Paragon was obtained, I decided it was time for me to level up my Rex. I just really wanted to see how strong I could get it up to. And man, was I impressed? It was almost a billion HP. It was madness. But that Reaper though, thick! Day 81. Well, you see, I was quite confident in taking gods on my own now, as I was able to find another Paragon for my Rex, taking it to over 1 billion HP, making it a true godlike Rex. I also opted to change my boss fight location. The more open space made it less of a risk factor for us. Anyways, I wanted to take on the Meteor God. The reason for this was that I needed its soul. Oh! Now this is what I'm talking about. Like I said, I was pretty confident with taking these gods now. In fact, we were pretty much dominating the first tier of gods. So I took this opportunity in getting more souls to level up my dinos. Alright, so the next couple of days, well, actually we did the things we did previously. And that's by going out and getting more paragon souls. And then, well, I wanted to level up my pteranodon to godlike status. So I had to go ahead and take on the gamma ray god. Well, after that, I just went on for some more paragon souls. That's what you basically need to do in this mod. Souls, and catch up. Ha, gotcha. Well, I meant to say souls. Alrighty, day 87 to 88. Yes, peeps, you got it right. We went ahead to farm up some boss souls. Now, this stage, I didn't really know which group god I wanted to face, as I knew they were strong and, like, I didn't even know if I was gonna beat it, okay? So I just went ahead and grabbed a whole lot of boss souls to make a decision later on. We were almost there, actually, so... Kamz, you cannot take your time with this. Day 89, we took a break from that boss farming stuff and decided to go ahead and take on another boss. Yeah, crazy, I know, but who says we have to do things the normal way? What is the normal way? I don't know. But anyways, there was a titan that spawned in. So with my Archie, I started the beat down session. Oh boy, I was able to take down this forest titan. Nothing really spectacular happened, but I did realize that I almost unlocked almost all of the tech engrams. I've never done that before. So before we get to the business end of things, I wanted to try out something fun. On Omega, you can actually tame bosses. On day 90, I went and got the token for it, and that's by collecting a whole bunch of souls and then sacrificing that token in the Omega beacon, and out popped a wood dragon, which we needed to go ahead and trank. The thing is, it had a whole lot of torpor, and the gear that we were using, well, didn't do that much damage, so this was quite a long tame. It took like forever to try and knock this dragon down. Eventually, after a million hours, we were able to knock out the wood dragon and get it a whole bunch of boss kibble. Day 91, I went out with my dragon to level it up, just taking out everything and anything in sight. It also had a side quest, which I was trying to fulfill. Unfortunately, there was just too many things to do, and we didn't really have that much time. So I guess I have to put that to the side for now. Well, this was a quick one. Day 92, we went to get more paragon souls. The next few days was spent farming up bosses and gods. For one, I needed those god souls to spawn in the last boss that I wanted to fight, which was the group god. And, well, I chose maybe one of the most difficult gods of them all, the cosmic god. So I needed all 6 of them god souls in order to spawn him in. I also needed those god essence to craft god potions, and I needed a whole lot of them because I was warned that I should bring them into the last boss fight. And then for the rest of it, I needed them to imbue the saddles and my armor, giving them extra protection for what is to come. I'm not looking forward to this. Day 98 and 99, well, last minute preps are on the way, and that's by gathering the last few paragons I could find. Yeah, man, getting ourselves ready for the freaking last boss fights. I seriously don't want to die. I want to complete this. Help me! Day 100. It was time to summon the almighty group god. I mean, this was scary as ever. It had the I don't know what was happening kind of scariness. And then it hit me, like, really hard. It was just madness from the get-go. We had lights, we had flashes, we had darkness, we had things blasting out from everywhere. I was freaking out. All I knew was I had to use my god potions and try and do my best to attack this thing. It was crazy. The best thing is, at some point, I was on my own. I had no idea what was happening. I thought Kirmu had left me or something. Talking about freaking out, I was like, what am I gonna do now? And then I tried my best to stay in the fight as long as possible because I figured out that Kirmu had died. So I had to stand my ground and fight this on my own for a little bit. And whoa, Kirmu was back with a force. He brought in his OP Rex and together tried to take on this cosmic god. God. Unfortunately, well, I got stuck in one of its abilities and I tried my best to get out and I got wrecked. But luckily, I had a couple of backup dinos, which were even stronger than the wrecks I had. So I brought in my death worm and pushed for the final fight as we're getting closer to the end of defeating this cosmic god. Both Kirmu and I pressed on, giving it all that we had until I saw the greatest thing ever happen. The message that came across the screen. You have defeated the freaking cosmic god! I was so freaking pumped. I was just jumping for joy, man. It was so amazing. And one last thing. Big ups to Kirmu for the amazing help.